Divinity League.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your regularly Thursday scheduled programming. The graphic may have tricked you, but we are live with week 2 of the Immortal League. We've had a bit of a back-end craziness with reschedules, so our scheduled game is not the one we're streaming now, but our matchup for tonight is going to be a Group B action fest between Ducky Gaming and Lane Zero Blizzard. I am Slayer, the play-by-play, going to take you through with one of my very good friends, the amazing, the Kha'Zix one trick himself, Quacks. How you doing, my man?
I feel like the word enthusiast is a little bit more honest to me. At the current moment, I'm OTP and Kha'Zix, but that's not going to stick. But welcome to Immortal, Slayer. Happy to have you on with the crew. I know last split you weren't on Immortal, but yeah, welcome on up. It's good to have you, and it's good to be casting with you once again. It felt like way too long since we got to be on the mic together, and for a really good matchup as well. And we did have a reschedule, like you said, but it's Ducky Gaming versus Lane Zero Blizzard. One team 0-1, having that 1-2 game record, and the other one, in the case of Lane Zero Blizzard, having a 2-0 game score. So they won their week 1 matchup. And in a regular season of only 7 weeks, if you're Lane Zero Blizzard and you can go up, potentially 2-0 with a 4-0 game score, or hell, even a 4-1 game score is really good at this point. You're thinking about, playoffs and what the implications could be if you continue in the form that you are in.
Without a doubt, Quacks. And a really early season, especially a winter split, is all about just getting comfortability, right? Because everybody's been playing a ton of, I still hate calling it this, but season 25 of League of Legends, whatever.
Just call it season 15. If they want, if Riot won't be normal, we have to be normal. I have patch 15.3 notes on my other monitor. I'm not calling it 2025.s1.3. That's for nerds. And I'm not a nerd. Like you said, I'm a Kha'Zix one trick. I'd rather be a Kha'Zix OTP than a nerd.
I'd rather be a Kha'Zix OTP than a nerd.
Put that in the quote book.
Yeah, that was going to stick with me. But, so season 15, right, is very different. Obviously, players in the Immortal League have been playing it in solo queue a bunch. Maybe some teams have been scrimming it, but there's a lot to break down here. And if you've been a fan of, tier 1 leagues at this point, you're probably familiar with a lot of our talking points. But Quack, especially with the reschedule, it's ever more important that we preach, especially on a new patch too, where some of these big changes have gotten tweaked.
Yeah.
How important things like feats, Otacon are going to be as players as we go through the entirety of the Immortal League this split.
And I mean, it's not just the champions, like the day-to-day changes from the characters in the game that we see changed in the most recent patch. More particularly, we have seen some buffs to the souls, some nerfs to the souls as well, Slayer. In particular, that Cloud Soul. A lot of people love to say that, a lot of people love to clown on Cloud Soul, but Riot was actually the ones laughing at us when it was revealed by, I believe, DPM on Twitter, that stats page that always throws down some of the weirdest stats, mind you, that Cloud Soul actually had the highest win rate in the game. My headcanon is because nobody actually prioritized that soul as much. No one would actually fight for it. So as a result, that team would get the soul and kind of get a little bit of a breezy cakewalk, both figuratively and literally. But on the nerf section, you got the Chemtech soul, right? That has gotten buffed. It was the one that kind of drew the short end of the stick in terms of win rate and got propped up a little bit with the most recent patch.
I do think the Chemtech soul is the correct buffed one. It is surprising. Cloud Soul is the biggest one nerfed. I'm with you. It was really situational with certain comps. If you got it, it was like cracked, but other ones like poke comps, like, oh, we have Cloud Soul, cool. We're into the draft though. One champion that would have really loved the old Cloud Soul is Skarner. If we're gonna pull from some of the tier 1 time we've seen of League of Legends in this patch, Skarner has been, I would argue, the most banned champion across the entire world.
100% win rate in pro. Yeah, something like that. Like 100% win rate, and then like just 100% presence in general. I feel like the champion can do no wrong. But you know what other champion can't do any wrong? It is the Jace. And that was left open. And I have a feeling LZB might be eyeing that one up for themselves, but they're actually going to pass it up in favor of stability in the top lane. And nobody has stability like an Ornn.
That B1 Ornn, man, that is a
we might be in order here. I feel like I suspiciously feel like we are actually in order. Yeah, the top laners are picking top. If this is a jungler, my theory is confirmed.
Theory could
Maybe I am a nerd. I don't know. Like
okay.
It's Mel.
Oh, okay. I think we're having a little switcheroo. You gotta remember,
We are.
us casters in production are early in the split too, so we're trying to learn on the fly with all these awesome graphics that Tiny Sports is exclusive with Friendly Pro Production. So Mel is going to be the B1 here, and then we got the Wukong Oriana on the turn. Wukong, one of those junglers very high in prio ever since we switched over to Season 15. Very impressive win rate Wukong has in all facets of game, competitive, solo queue, really tearing it up.
And I mean, another champion that has just been on the tear lately is that Mel, right? I mean, Slayer, you and I have played some flex games. Honestly, you hate this champion more than I do. You probably have way more issues with this champion than I
hate it in the
do.
bottom lane. It's when it goes to the bottom lane. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. It is absolutely, and it can still go to the bottom lane, right? I mean, mid lane and AD carry aren't yet set in stone for the side of LZB, so that could be flexed around. Interested to see how the pairing with Rel actually works, because I've heard, word on the street, if you will, is that Mel is really good with just other champions that can abuse range. Things like the Karma, kind of the resurgence in some of those enchanters has made Mel in the bottom lane so much better instead of, just your typical engage supports. But that is still an option, obviously.
Without a doubt, is an option. A lot less AD carries are going to be an option so far, as those were the left up, role between the two teams so far here. So you lose MF. Funny enough, though, this is hilarious. You lose Misfortune, Varus, Jinx, and Kog'Maw. You don't ban away Ashe, and Rubber Ducky Gaming are like, all right, well, we've got enough damage with a Gwen and Oriana Wukong already. We don't need it all in the marksman role. Let's just take the premier setup player. And there's a flip side for LZB is going to be that peel that Ezreal affords himself. I think both of these teams have landed on marksman that I think work well into this game despite all the bans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like RDG actually prioritizing the support counter pick. The B5 support has been something that has really skyrocketed in priority for both of these teams. I think maybe something like a Leona or a Nautilus or potentially even a Braum could be really good here. Yeah, that Leona is going to get locked on and up. But B5 support has been really, really popular over the past few patches. I feel like with the resurgence in heal being used in that bot lane and the fact that supports are kind of able to stand a little bit more on their own 2 feet in the most recent season. Usually in Season 14, for example, we would say, okay, it's Lucian, Nami, it's going to be Ashe, it's going to be Ashe Leona, right? We would look at these bottom lanes as a pair and not necessarily champions that could stand on their own 2 legs. In Season 15, I feel like that's changed for the support role, where you look at things like the Leona, you look at things like the Rel, and you ask yourself not only how these guys are going to pair up with their lane counterparts, but how they're going to roam around the map for these objectives, which again have skyrocketed in priority, and overall how they're going to be able to play around the map. That has become the big central question around the role in Season 15.
Very, very important thing for Season 15. A lot to just learn and see how teams adapt in Season 15. But we have our drafts here. Very clear cut. I am intrigued to see how this game plays out, because I think this is sort of your classical. You've got like a decent amount of dive composition, backline access on the side of Rubber Ducky Gaming. But on the flip side, I definitely am always a fan of ease of execution. And for Lane 0 Blizzard, you got an Ezreal, you got a Mel, you got frontline with a Mumu, Rel, and Cassante. You can kind of just sit back, and if you allow this Mel and Ezreal, if they have leads, if they get to their item thresholds, it's going to be kind of hard for Rubber Ducky to come through and find these kills. But we'll have to see how good Rubber Ducky Gaming are at executing, as we are on to Summoner's Rift after a couple of switch-ups in the game plan for today. We've arrived nonetheless here for Game 1. A game that Rubber Ducky Gaming would certainly like to go up on to see if they can find their first series win of the split.
Absolutely. I mean, you're still really early in the split. We're still early in the season. Teams, like you said, Slayer, are still figuring things out. So this is the time to really get some of those surprise wins, to pull out some of those surprise strategies. And I like where LZB's head is at, just throwing down the Mel. I mean, there's been so little time to actually adapt to this champion and what it's capable of, that I feel like if they really play for Neversaw in the mid lane, RDG might just not know how to play against it, might not know how to counter this pick, and might fall to its Arcane, I guess. I was going to say Blade or Sword, but she uses magic, and she's in Arcane, so that's what I'm landing on.
Arcane mentioned? It's time to freak out. Arcane
Time to
mentioned.
freak out.
Nonetheless, we'll see how this mid lane matchup looks. As crazy as Mel can be and a lot of capabilities and unique, she does fall into the classic ideology of, oh, two mages in the mid lane. Well, we're probably not going to see any action here in the mid lane unless it's a farm off. We'll see how much poke Neversaw can get down. A lot of attention is going to be on these junglers to try and enable a lot of these lanes or these supports. So I'm interested to see which one of these bottom lanes is able to get a bit better of a push going early on to try and set up for these supports to roam around with their junglers, especially when we talk about the feats and how Monster Slayer feat really feels like the most competitive one, as LZB do take over to level 2 first here, and a good knockback comes across from Eclipse. The Ignite goes across, and the auto comes through for verticality, but Skepta is going to barely walk away. One Ignite tick off, first blood there, but still a win for the Blizzard side.
And they burn the flash from Leona as well. So like you said, it is just setting up for those junglers later down the line. Archer is going to have a lot easier of a time landing those bandage tosses onto Skepta from here on out, because this Leona doesn't have really any way to escape. And combine that CC from the bandage toss along with the crash down from the Rel, and that would certainly mean certain death for Rubber Ducky Gaming support. But for the time being, it is just going to be both bot laners kind of licking their wounds. Resets come in from Verticality and Eclipse. That means they'll probably be able to get back to the lane without really losing too much if you look at just the current state of the waves down there. And it means that it's RDG's time to look for something. I mean, David in particular is finishing up his full clear, so he could look to maybe influence this bot lane river a little bit with the pushing bot lane.
Both top laners trading pretty heavily here. Hazem did miss the Nadolfo knockback here and is giving a bit of a window for Toasted Toast to step up. Get him pretty low. Don't normally see that early game from a Gwen in the matchup, so as much space as Toasted Toast can get early is going to benefit him as he tries to scale on up. It is important to remember, as we are on 15-3, that First Blood alone does not give away that Feats of Warfare. If you have not been following along too much since we got into Season 15, it's going to take 3 kills, and I gotta say, you know, as much as we like to talk about Riot and balancing changes, I think that's probably one of their best changes ever. I think it's really helped slow down how snowbally the game felt when we first got on for Season 15.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean, the change for just being First Blood and you automatically get the feat felt quite solo queuey, and I think in a competitive environment was a little bit toxic. So I am definitely with you in that opinion, Slayer. I think 3 kills, it just feels better for the pace of the game as well, I feel, right? Like, it feels like it incentivizes more action because you want to get the feats, but without it necessarily being toxic, like we said.
And you can feel the slowed down pace so far in this opening game. Remember, those little kills we get closer towards Voracious Otacon, but here comes Archer, gonna hit the max range bandage toss, flash away from the solar snare, but has a second one in store, and that is a classic jungler W. Lane 0 Blizzard on the board, one step closer to those first feats of warfare.
Really good recognition from Archer. He goes around for that gank. Samuel, he commits the flash, but it's 2 bandage tosses, both hit their mark. And Neversaw reaps the rewards for getting that kill. Now the Mel, though, is going to be able to get a push in this mid lane. There was a little bit of a concern for me with Neversaw, given that he was going down a substantial amount of CS compared to Samuel. But now he's able to get that kill gold. He's going to be able to shove that wave in. He has teleport, so the gold has evened out, and it's really increased for LZB. They have activated their win con here 5.5 minutes into the game, Slayer.
Starting to get the ball rolling. Really important now to see, with that lost chapter, how impactful Neversaw can be once we get to these, the real big injunction point, I would say, of most early games. Dragon is going to be on the Rift here, and you have the Grubs not spawning too far after. David on the Wukong is going to try and steal away these Raptors with pings towards Archer on the top side, so they have an idea of where Archer is pathing. So David, at the very least, is going to start to build a bit of a camp lead.
And RDG have to be a little bit careful. They don't have eyes on Eclipse in the bot lane. Skepta is down there, so I think LZB know they have a man advantage toward these Grubs. Rubber Ducky Gaming seem to acknowledge this as well, which is why they're not going for a contest. Not only do they not have the prio, they just don't have the numbers. But it's a 2v2 here down in the bot lane river. But yeah, I imagine neither team really wants the smoke. And it's looking like it's just going to be a classic objective trade here, Slayer.
I like to play from Eclipse, though. Whenever you have an Ezreal on your team, the best marksman, I would say, to ever leave on an island, kind of just let them farm on up. And as long as they're not mispositioning with summoners up, verticality should always be in a pretty decent position. So lane 0 Blizzard will take this trade, right? They go 1 apiece on each of the first neutrals. They are a bit closer on that first blood count. Only real worry is that, you know, Toast to Toast has been able to quietly settle on with this Gwen, and that is always a worry for me. Gwen can really just scale into a winning top lane matchup against anybody, but Hazem is also playing the Cassante that kind of does like to kind of just handshake and farm out if needed, so expect both these guys to be big players in the later team fights, and we're going to see how their skill really looks on these champions.
And I feel like the Gwen is almost a kryptonite bullet straight for LZB because, I mean, you look at the range that the carries on this team have, the Mel, the Ezreal, and that Hallowed Mist completely ruins all of that. So, hang on.
Oh, there we go. All out. We got both ults. Needle work down as well. Toast to Toast trying to use the ult and the Q passive to heal up. Dodging around these Otofo strikes. That's a great dash from Hazem. Gets away from the snip of the scissors and finds himself the outplay solo bolo. But the rescue for Rubber Ducky Gaming coming into the name of David does have the Cyclone available. Going to use the stop. Will get through one phase of the Cyclone, then stuns him up. He doesn't even have to burn the flash. Hazem gets back towards his turn. It's David that's now on the run. His Archer has shown up. One more bandage toss to land. He sinks home once more. And here comes lane 0 Blizzard. 3-0 opening. Feats of Warfare secured.
And Archer with the hook, line, and sinker on the Q to lock down David. David committed the W, committed the Cyclone, had the flash available, but didn't have the space to get away. It's 3-0 kills over for LZB. A solo bolo for Hazem, followed up by a gift wrap to kill from his jungler. This team sitting really good so far, 8.5 minutes in, Slayer. Really, the only big worry is going to have to be that dragon count. You talked about the scaling from the Gwen. Back that up with a potential Dragon Soul threat, and it could be a formidable force that RDG don't want to have to deal with later down the line, but that's later down the line. You just have to worry about getting your win cons ahead for the time being and stopping those of Rubber Ducky Gaming's.
And we talked about for LZB that the easy execution for this comp is much easier on their side. It gets even easier if you allow your front line to find some sort of lead. You know, front line and damage dealer. We talked about the damage dealers need to be online enough. Never saw us in a comfortable spot. Ezreals always are fine just farming up to get to their 2-item power spike. And if you allow Hazem to get a bit quicker towards those tank items, now the big punch of the Wukong Orianna might not be as feared, especially if Eclipse just going to knock down Ice Samuel with a great combination. The Golden Eclipse doesn't do enough to get the execute on the Mel, and the Ignite falls short. Good dodge on the Q as well. Ice Samuel with the fancy feet work to not avoid falling for a 4th kill over to LZB.
Yeah, the Orianna programming some of those Michael Jackson moves into her database, gets away. True Shot Barrage even goes wide onto the Orianna. Ice Samuel living to tell the tale as LZB failed to get that kill, but it's not really going to be a failed play of consequences. This might be a bit of a consequence.
Hey, remember when we said Toast is doing well into this Cassante? That is rapidly spiraled out of control. Hazem with another solo kill.
Yep. And what's worse is he could be able to shove in this wave. Toast is going to lose like the entire thing of minions. He's going to be able to get a reset off on the Cassante teleport. And if they want to fight for these grubs, I mean, they have every ability to do so. They don't currently hold control of the topside river, so that might dissuade them a little bit. It looks like it is going to. But all of this commitment over to the top side by Rubber Ducky Gaming means that the bot side is ripe for taking, and Verticality is perfectly fine just farming on that side. This Ezreal is beginning to scale.
Even in farm, comfortable, never really under threat here in the lane swap is what Rubber Ducky Gaming are trying to force, maybe to get Toast into a more comfortable spot and get some more turret pressure going for Rubber Ducky, because they know now they have to grab that turret feat if they want the feats of strength, or feats of strength in general. They do grab the grubs uncontested. David's going to snag those, so they are going to be on 2 to 3 for the monster slaying, but not much for lane 0 Blizzard to really worry about in such a comfortable spot. They don't really need to all out for monster slaying at this point. The way they've been in such tempo, you feel like they're in a good spot for the turret if they want regardless.
No, they're in a good spot for the Dragon as well, which is it coming up in about 25 seconds. They pushed in the bot lane wave. Both Samuel and David are on the opposite side of the map. Hasm has the teleport, so as soon as they shove in this mid wave, they can move on down toward that bot side river, clear up any vision put down by Skeptor, place any of their own, and they should be able to take this Dragon for free, and it would even up the score as RDG got that last Drake. So it would be a one apiece, and it would really put a lot of onus on that Rift Herald being kind of the final nail in the coffin for the feats of strength for either of these teams.
Before that, looks like Rubber Ducky are trying to punish Samuel once more. This Orianna does have flash, but Archer sinks another bandage toss, gets the Curse of Sad Mummy down. Flash burned Samuel. It just doesn't matter. Archer on this Amumu is a setup wizard right now for LZB.
I mean, dude, this guy, his name is Archer, but he should be renamed to Hawkeye. I mean, which Archer are we talking about? There's plenty of good ones, plenty of bad ones, but then there's like freaking Legolas, and I would put Archer, this guy, on LZB in the Legolas tier. This man has not missed an important bandage toss, and it is netting his team so many advantages across the map. That is going to be the Mountain Dragon Slayer, and you know, you can disagree with me, but I would say having a Mountain Drake when you already have champions like the Rel, the Amumu, and the Cassante is a lot more impactful than the Ocean Dragon for RDG at the current moment.
Can't find a reason to disagree with you, Quack, especially with how burst-oriented Rubber Ducky Gaming's comp is going to be, right? With the Orianna, the Gwen, Wukong, like these are burst-oriented champions in their damage profile, so a Monster Drake is going to help, or a Mountain Drake, excuse me, is going to help in that capacity as well. And now we can really look forward towards that next Rift Herald, because that really feels like the deciding factor in the feats. But even then, if you are Lane 0 Blizzard, you don't need to panic too much going all out for it. If it's not a good spot, just try and swing and take a turret. So this is a spot where we're really going to get to test the macro of our teams early in this new season, playing around these feats of strength, and it's what makes Season 15 so fun and refreshing.
It absolutely does. And the soul of this game is going to be the Chemtech, right? When we talked about it in the draft, we said, yup, buffed up. It went from 11% increased damage and damage reduction to 13% increased damage and damage reduction. So a couple of notches up. Nothing too extreme, but definitely going to be nice to have, especially with, like you said earlier, Slayer, the burst damage that RDG want to accomplish in this late game. This soul is certainly going to protect you against that burst.
Really help you as well survive longer if you are RDG in these fights. On the back foot here, down about 2,500 gold. And if Archer continues to play setup wizard as he has in this game, making flashes really irrelevant, it's going to be hard for them to find a way back. Yeah. But we haven't yet seen their main combo, right? We haven't seen a big Ash Arrow come across from Revan, Samuel, David's Wukong ball delivery system come across just yet. So there is a lot of good teamfight onus for Rubber Ducky Gaming, but they just haven't found any metric to pull for just yet. As we see, the full might have never saw that Golden Eclipse nearly finding the execute threshold on that Mel passive and forcing Samuel back to base.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to throw Samuel, and it's going to force the TP out of the Orianna after he gets out of base, but it also means control of the mid wave here for LZB. They're going to be able to shove in this wave, get those resets off. You can see 3 members of LZB are now leaving the base, and Eclipse is also resetting, so it's really 4 members, and they're just going to go up toward that top side. They are really going to put pressure on toward that Rift Herald, right? Being able to bust down one of these turrets, grab more of the map for yourself, continue to make the map dark for RDG. That has got to be priority number 1 for them at this point in the game.
Priority number 1, indeed. Rift Herald not too far away. Mountain Drake, excuse me. I keep forgetting that we're still bugged out on Chemtech Souls on the graphics from Riot. Or still funny that that's still a thing to this day, but that is a Chemtech Soul. And I gotta think, Quacks, with how slow this game has been, we are likely to get that recently slightly nerfed, but still very overpowered Voracious Otacon in this game.
Yep, I would imagine you're right, Slayer. I think Voracious is probably going to be the name of the game, especially with how one-sided the kills have been. I mean, RDG, it's not really for lack of trying. They just really haven't had an angle on to Lane 0 Blizzard. They have been covering their bases, warding up like we're seeing on the top side river. I do think the Chemtech map is going to make that a little bit more difficult because, as you just saw there, the vision plant does reduce the hit points of those wards and make them easier to kill.
Eclipse gets 2 flashes with an ultimate, but Archer hits a bandage toss onto 2 on the backline, and he finds the 80 carry. Archer does it again. Cyclone's going to come out, but Archer flashes back to safety. The Solar Flare turn allows Archer to limp away with a blinking health bar, and Neversaw close enough fighting an execute forces David to flash away, flash for flash, but it's the same story once again rewritten. Archer finding a way in, Lane Zero Blizzard knocking down the fight.
And now Neversaw is 3-0 on the Mel. It is an absolute catastrophe for RDG. They want to play this game slow. They want to get to the late game. They want to activate those wombo combos like you said, Slayer. But LZB keep throwing bandage tosses. They keep throwing crash downs. And they keep ramming down this lead onto RDG. And they can't respond. Now the Herald is up. The TP is coming through from Neversaw. The push in mid lane is about to be like one-shot territory as well because of how fed and good this Mel is eating so far in the game. The wave clear is absolutely crazy. So they should just be able to either move up toward the top side, get the Herald, or move up toward this bot side with the newly spawned Chemtech Dragon.
Maybe if you're Rubber Ducky, you try and flip and boat race for this
maybe
of monster slaying and guess where Lane Zero Blizzard are trying to set up more heavily. You can see now that it's a vision battle towards this Drake side, but if I'm David and company, maybe just try and rush down the Herald on the other side. They're looking to maybe punish Eclipse. Like we talked about, we still have, I am yet to see an Ash Arrow fly through. I'm yet to see a Shockwave, anything, any of those important ultimates used, and maybe this will be it here for Rubber Ducky Gaming when they need it most.
I mean, they are forcing down this Dragon quite low. You can see Verticality on the side pushing in that bot wave, so they're going to look to pincer out RDG.
Oh boy, Ash Arrow down, does find its mark as the Arcane Shift goes through for Verticality. Does have to flash away from David, does use the Cyclone. Should have a second knockup, really trying to kill off Verticality, but he just doesn't have the damage in the tank to do it. His entire combo is wasted, and now Verticality is going to kill him off after he misuses the Blast Cone. It's a rough game for David and Rubber Ducky Gaming. It's a kill, a dragon, and officially the feats of strength secured for Lane Zero Blizzard.
Rubber Ducky Gaming taking control of this game, 7-0 in kills. Revan is going to try and stop that. He's burning down Eclipse. But yeah, no damage on the Wukong, no damage on the Ashe. There's just not enough gas in the tank for Rubber Ducky Gaming to finish off any of these kills. And I suppose if you're looking for a silver lining, it's that turret in the top side was taken by Toasted Toast. This Gwen... You know, we haven't had a ton of time to talk about the top lane matchup since those solo kills by Hasm, but it's just more CS going to the Gwen, and I mean, slowly but surely they're inching toward that scaling win condition, but it feels like it's going slower minute by minute at this point, Slayer.
And the lead grows second by second. We're up to 4,000 now. Rift Herald and Otacon soon to spawn. You can see it in that top side river. As it shows that is the more damage-dealing side of the map in this game, which is an intriguing prospect considering how much... I guess we can't choose mid lane, so that makes sense. Bottom lane was quieter.
yeah. I mean, 3 kills onto Hasm, I definitely think would signal Otacon going up there.
Oh boy. All right, here's the lockdown. Skeptor getting hounded by Arch and Eclipse is a tankier Leona, but not that tanky as Verticality hits all of his skill shots. Big Curse of the Sadman comes across as Archer does go down, sacrificing himself. Revan, though, is going to eat a scolded Eclipse. Verticality is going to have to dash back as Samuel wants to find these trade kills. Will be able to make down a couple of them. And it's a huge swing for Rubber Ducky Gaming, a bit too lax near the turret for LZB. It's going to gift them a 3-3 split, but shutdowns over to the red side.
LZB getting caught out by the Shockwave. Beautiful timing there by Samuel, and the reward will be the turret. Hasm can only watch, and maybe he actually wants to do something about it. He's not going to commit, but now Voracious Otacon is on the map. LZB are starting to respawn, and it's a little bit unfortunate that they weren't really able to take much control of that topside river with those kills coming through, but they get the tower, and they give themselves a fighting chance back into this game, if anything, Slayer.
Curious how far Hasm wants to push this mid wave. Nah, he didn't have time to crash to trade them into tier 1. He's going to try it, but Revan gets back there in time, and yeah, like you called out, Quacks, everybody's eyes are going to drift back up towards that top lane. It's not even just Voracious Otacon. There's still a Rift Herald for both teams to play for.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure you can see how much side lane control you can get here, and it is important to mention that Rubber Ducky Gaming now can shove some mid waves pretty deep in here, but whoever can get first set up around this top side is going to get a pretty powerful buff, and I wonder if you're Rubber Ducky Gaming, Quacks, are you willing to trade a whole host of turrets to give up, a Rift Herald and Otacon buff?
I don't even know if they could really go for a turret at this point in the game. I mean, the top lane turret is taken, the mid lane turret is taken. Bot lane turret was literally just snagged on up by Toasted Toast. So you really have nothing to trade with at this point in the game because you just don't have the vision set up if you are RDG. But you really don't want to give away this Otacon because if you give away the Otacon, then the Rift Herald might follow. So this is a surefire fight for both of these teams. They want these objectives because it's life or death getting both of these.
Both top laners have teleport on the bot side. All ultimates are available. First root going to come across on a Skeptor. Eats a combo from Verticality. True Shot Barrage not going to find a mark here. But LZB like their momentum now, trying to rush their way towards the mid lane as they have Hasm on the flank, walked his way up from the bottom lane, and for now they're just going to try and threaten a tier 1 mid lane turret, which is far too low for Rubber Ducky Gaming to try and defend. So now we have every outer turret down, and the game evened out even more so since that last fight.
And really good movement coming out here by Eclipse. He's clearing out the wards. He's hitting the plants on the side of RDG so they can't use them for themselves, denying information away from the Duckies, and potentially just denying this Rift Herald as it burns down faster than you can blink.
Yep, there it is, secured by Archer. David looking for a flank, but Eclipse again, once again, using himself as a shield for his AD carry. Uses the Fairmancy over the wall. Ash Arrow going to go wide as well. That's a bit
very
more
wide.
Of a projectile. I wish that had been shot at Never Saw. I want to see a reflected Ash Arrow once in this game. Well, maybe we'll get it, Quacks, but not now.
Yeah, for now, it is just continuing Lane 0 Blizzard dominance here in this game. Still, though, the Otacon remains unclaimed. I do like what we're seeing from Samuel in particular. He's pushing out that top lane wave. Revan is going to push the mid lane wave. So we've now got the Otacon, and instead of it being, Otacon versus the Herald, it's now Otacon versus the Dragon. This would be sole point for LZB, and I'm really wondering where Rubber Ducky Gaming's head is at, thinking, okay, what if we give away this Dragon and go for the Otacon, or potentially do the opposite, give away the Otacon and just deny the soul point? Because like we've been saying so many times, this is a scaling comp for RDG. If they can just buy more time for their Gwen, for their Orianna, and for their Ashe to scale, they could find a way back into this match.
Don't have control of this river, though. David gets caught by a great solar snare. Never Saw knocks him down to about quarter HP.
Toast is in the middle of everyone.
Jumps into everybody, gets rid of the mist, and Archer re-engages. Of course, the Sad Mode True Shot Barrage nearly enough to knock down the Toasted Toast. He does walk himself out, but Rubber Ducky Gaming now have to give away this Chemtech Drake.
Yep, they have no real way to fight it. David limps away from the fight. Toasted Toast barely gets out of that one. I wanted to say something that was worse than limped, but nothing really came to mind. And now it's going to be something like that. And now it's just going to be Lane 0 Blizzard sole point the Chemtech Dragon as well. Going to provide a lot more defense and a lot more safety for these extended fights. But I mean, who needs safety from extended fights? All of these fights, Slayer, have been just quick trades initiated by Archer and Lane 0 Blizzard, where they take 1 to 2 kills, move on to an objective, rinse and repeat. There has not been a single quote-unquote fight in this game, really, outside of maybe that exchange in the mid lane from the big shockwave from iSamurai.
And even then, it's not the combo that RDG drafted for.
Yeah.
You draft the Orianna to put the ball onto Wukong so the Cyclone and the Shockwave can go together. You draft the Ashe to try and set up these plays by hitting a Crystal Arrow that can allow them to go for a pick. None of those have been landed. We've seen the Shockwave, like you called out, alone. We've seen some Cyclones used alone. But until that really clicks, even if this game is pretty even-toed, maybe a little bit Lane 0 Blizzard favored, if you don't commit that combo correctly, you don't win this game.
Yeah. And I do really want to highlight the restraint here from LZB. I mean, they are only 2,000 gold up, but I feel like that gold graph is almost a little bit deceiving. It feels like the map is just completely in their favor. And yet, with all of this in mind, they have not yet once even attempted to go for the Otacon. They recognize that this objective takes a long time to go down, especially the Voracious one with its little mini fiddlesticks healing that does a lot of damage. They don't want to even give Rubber Ducky Gaming the idea of a comeback, and so they are holding on, they are holding fast, and they are not overcommitting for these objectives because they don't want to risk a 50-50.
I like this move from Lane Zero Blizzard. They're trying to take control of the mid wave and force Rubber Ducky to defend their tier 2 turret. Now they can take back control of that river that they were very dark on. And with Hazem in a very comfortable spot as well, item-wise, he can constantly just side lane against this Gwen, who can't shred through his health bar by this point. There's a Kanik done. He's got Unending Despair Kanik and those tier 3 magic resist boots. You're not going to mow down this Cassante in the 1v1, and now that they're all back on the map, Lane Zero Blizzard can set up and see how aggressive Rubber Ducky Gaming want to get, trying to fight their way back.
Ooh, Ice Samuel's in the pit.
As you see, yep, right on tote. Ice Samuel gets caught, does get away from the Curse of the Sad Mummy, but it's Eclipse in the middle of them all. Defensive Cyclone down. There's the Rel knockdown at the start, but it's a front-to-back angle coming across for LZB verticality.
Hazem TP.
Skeptor. Hazem TP's in with a huge health bar and a lot of damage to deal. Shockwave holds everybody in place, but there's just no synergy between these ultimates. They do trade Archer off on the side. Hazem is getting heralded by Revan with a ton of fielding arrows, but there's the all-out. Wants to dive Revan under his own turret. True Shot Barrage comes across, but it doesn't matter. Revan stands up tall. It's the carries left up for LZB, but they just don't have the health bars to compete, don't have the front line to protect them, and Ice Samuel knows it, commits over the wall to try and kill off verticality. Arcade's just over the wall, turns it on its head. Clone comes out from David to find the trade, but it's a bloody one, a narrow one that Rubber Ducky Gaming barely finds a win in.
And there are the fights that we wanted, Slayer. It wasn't perfect, like you said. The ultimates weren't really synergized together, but RDG, they found their moment, they found their mark. And even if they barely win the fight, it's a fight win nonetheless. They waste the Herald from Lane Zero Blizzard as well. Now it's going to be up to Neversaw to escort this in the mid lane. We're going to have to see if he can. His wave clear is still very strong, so I feel like this will probably crash, but still, in their darkest hour, they managed to find the light here in game number 1. The question is, can they repeat that success? The scaling is starting to come through. The Gwen has 2 items, and so does the Wukong. And this is really when these champions start to come online, and there's no turning back. So LZB, that Otacon is still up. That Dragon is coming up in 45 seconds. They have not 1, but 2 opportunities to re-solidify this game in their clutches. And it's going to be up to RDG to stop them in their tracks.
I'm just ready for the chaos that is going to be this top side once somebody commits towards Baron or Otacon. I know we have a very small sample size in the Immortal League, but you rarely get to see Otacon and Baron next to each other in a game. Usually it goes down by the time you get towards Baron time. That's not the reality here. It's toast to toast. Might get caught off on the side.
Does that with the needle. Yeah, that's really big as well, because David up on that top side thought he found a pick. So he used Cyclone, so you're down Needlework, you're down Cyclone. These key, crucial ultimates that can be used to not only initiate a fight, but to cut down some of these backliners are completely gone. So they are at a disadvantage starting here. They're going to have to look to find a pick. Hazem is the only one away, and we've already established he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I'm noticing now Revan also committed an Ash Arrow at some point, so they don't have the Ash Arrow as well. David really using the trickster to buy himself some space, somehow slips out between the clutches of Lane Zero Blizzard.
That was smooth.
That was very smooth, but at this point, without Ash Arrow, Cyclone, Needlework, you don't have a lot to work with. I don't see Rubber Ducky Gaming even finding a way to contest, and they got to give away Chemtech Soul by this point.
Yup, I mean, it's at 6,000 health now. It's dropping fast. There is no way to get through this impenetrable wall that is the Cassante.
There it is.
They're going anyway.
They go in, Skeptor uses the Zenith Blade, Shockwave only onto Hasm, so they commit the few ultimates they have onto the tank, and you can see how rough it is when the turn comes out for LZB. Golden Eclipse of Glory for Neversaw. Archer with more bandits, tosses the Ezreal, free firing, finds himself a triple, ace to Verticality, and lane 0 Blizzard.
LZB come up big in the team fight. It was a last-ditch effort there by Rubber Ducky Gaming, but they are not able to get through LZB. Now it is going to be the Soul. It is going to be the Baron. And let's get the Otacon for good measure. 3 major buffs go over to lane 0 Blizzard. And that might just be a game-ending fight here, Slayer. I cannot imagine RDG coming back from this gold lead be damned. You have the trifecta of big boy buffs here in game number 1. The only thing you're missing is that Elder, really.
Yeah, this is why you come to watch the Immortal League on Thursday nights, folks. We just watched a team take Dragon Soul, Baron, and Voracious Otacon buff all in the same 30 seconds. Off of 1 fight win. If you thought lane 0 Blizzard could play with, some pretty aggressive pace before, watch what happens now with Chemtech Soul and a free revive at their disposal.
Yup. And now Baron in tow, Soul to follow, and again, Otacon, these are a lot of buffs. It's going to be very difficult for RDG to defend against this, much less come back from a win. Now they have just got to try and mount a base defense. I like what we're seeing here from LZB. I mean, they have a teleport from Hasm. They're sticking him on a side lane. He has really been kind of the lone wolf, the guy that you need, kind of the Liam Neeson, if you will, for this team. He shows up when you need him, and now they might need him.
Yeah, Solar Eclipse down, Skeptor. They do lock Neversaw. There's the combo. They get the Asher of the Cyclone. Mel is out of the fight already. It's Verticality that's to bring the damage through. Good curse to the sad movie from Archer, though. Locks up the front line of Rubber Ducky, and they're being deflated rapidly by the might of Verticality. Flashing forward, waiting for his Arcade Shift to reset. There it is after he hits another Mystic Shot. Another triple kill for the AD carry of lane 0 Blizzard, who knocks down the fight just when it looked a little bit dire. Snipes for the quadra kill. Don't give this guy Ezreal in the Immortal League.
Verticality coming up big here, landing all of the skill shots on this Ezreal. That was the kind of cool guys don't look at explosions moment that Verticality needed. This probably makes the Ezreal main in your heart, Slayer, super happy. 13-2 and 3, 23 kills, 33-minute game. And lane 0 Blizzard dominate game number 1.
Rubber Ducky Gaming are happy that this is fearless because Ezreal is out of the series. Verticality, so impressive. I mean, he just called game on his own.
Yeah.
That fight, that was the one fight we talked about where Rubber Ducky Gaming were able to combo together their key ultimates. You saw a Shockwave, a Solar Flare, and an Ash Arrow all land onto one single person. Neversaw dies. It just doesn't matter because Verticality runs the rest of the fight.
Yeah.
That's why so many people are afraid of Ezreal in late game scenarios. Once this guy gets 3 items, 4 items, and you don't get to him, you pay.
Absolutely. And Rubber Ducky Gaming did pay. They go down 0-1 into this game, and they are going to have to go for a reverse sweep if they want to even up that series record score to 1-1. Otherwise, they fall down to the 0-2 position here in group number B. Meanwhile, lane 0 Blizzard, they would go up 2-0, and that would be really big to have this early on in the season. So it's going to be a tough task for Rubber Ducky Gaming. I mean, it really felt like the game was never in their control, right? It was Archer at first calling the shots. He was going in every time. He was the go button, and lane 0 Blizzard were more than happy to oblige. They won out in those fights. And then later on, it kind of felt like Hasm and then Verticality called the shots. They were the ones that re-engaged the fights and really sung that late game home for them to get that game number 1 win. So RDG, I don't know what you do in the wake of changing up your strategy, but the fact remains, you've definitely got to change up your strategy because game number 1 was a slaughter.
Lane 0 Blizzard look cold, calculated, and confident in their game 1 win. Glad you gave some love over to Archer there because Verticality really won the fight at the end of the game, but they don't get on track like that if Archer's a moo isn't as on point.
This guy hit bullseyes every time. He lives up to his name. I'm proud of him, you know?
We will see if we get Legolas or Hawkeye with a bit of cataracts going on for his next pick on as Archer is the name. We're going to go to a quick break here, but on the other side, we'll see if Lane Zero Blizzard can get the 2-0 sweep and establish themselves as one of the early front runners for the Immortal League split, or if Rubber Ducky Gaming have something in store for us. Regardless, 10 new champions and a fresh new Game 2 draft coming your way after this intermission. Welcome back, everybody, to the Immortal League Week 2 matchup. Rubber Ducky Gaming go down to Lane 0 Blizzard. 1-0 in our first game. Took about 33 minutes. But before we jump into any more gameplay talk, let's have a bit of fun here. That's the point. Have fun on the desk here. And a fun part of the Titan experience across all leagues, thanks to some of our awesome people on production, is a good game we like to play Kiss, Marry, Kill. And I know that... Quacks, you have some opinions to voice about our Noxus-themed one of the week.
I mean, I think you and I are relatively on board here, Slayer. You and I have the exact same opinion. Yep. So LeBlanc, Swain, and Cassiopeia were the options for this one, and I personally chose to kiss LeBlanc, marry Swain, and kill Cassiopeia. So my reasoning, I feel, is pretty self-explanatory. I feel like LeBlanc, if you don't like one, you can just kiss the other because she's got multiple clones. Maybe one of them had like Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme and you don't want that one. You can always go to the other one. Swain, he's one of the 3 leaders. You marry him, you get all his riches, and no one is ever going to spy on you because he does the spying. And kill Cassiopeia because she's a snake and creeps me out. And honestly, the model is way outdated. And unlike LeBlanc, she's not getting an update anytime soon, so she just looks ugly.
You know what? I'm with you on the snake hating. I don't think I could get past that. Sorry, Cassiopeia. And I know that the point of contention between some people, or at least our lovely producer here, Wookie behind the scenes, marrying LeBlanc. Wookie, I know you can hear me. Anyone out there who thinks they're marrying LeBlanc, you cannot fix her. She will kill you.
You cannot fix her.
She's going to betray you and kill you. All right, so
yeah, unforeseen turns are simply part of any path. She said it herself in the newest cinematic, you know. So
yep. So Swain, I feel like I can just trust him to like not murder me, and then the spine thing like you were talking about. So yeah, that we're in a similar spot. Shout out to our awesome observer tonight and the creator of this graphic, I'm not mistaken, Golden, for throwing this concept our way, and hope everybody enjoyed it, because we're going right back into gameplay here. Week 2 of the Immortal League, our Group B matchup could come to a short conclusion here if Lane 0 Blizzard find themselves another win. And Quacks, the way just the macro and cohesion of this LZB team looked in game 1, I got to see something pretty impressive from Rubber Ducky Gaming to think we're going the distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like LZB really just had control over the lane. A lot of it just felt like it was go buttons, right? Archer was the go button in the early game, and then Hasm and Verticality were the go buttons in the late game, right? So they kind of transitioned that engage role onto multiple different members based on when those champions were strong, and the team was fully on board. They were right behind the engage, and they executed on it every single time. Even in the fights, the rare fights, I will say, they lost like 2 of them that they lost, it felt like it was just very scrappy and not necessarily as well coordinated by LZB. So there were a couple of slip-ups in game number 1 that allowed Rubber Ducky Gaming to take control of the reins for just a second, but they weren't able to do anything with those couple seconds that they had the game under their thumb. And I think, like you said, LZB, if they can put on a similar show with a similar comp that has those go buttons, they should be able to 2-0 this one.
A good call out here, though, for RGD. We swapped sides, and they were on the red side. They banned the Aurora away in the first phase, so now they come back on the blue side, see that get through. They're going to ban it away, but I'm already a big fan of the Lane 0 Blizzard response here. You can flex the Aurora away from this Galio matchup, but Galio is just...
You can flex the Galio.
You can flex the Galio, and Galio's just the best pick in any magic damage-based champions in the game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I do like the Corki lock-in as well. Very versatile with a lot of these supports, which I'm assuming we'll see banned a lot of toward the latter half of this phase. Because, again, that support counter pick on B5 has really been the talk of the town, the big priority here in Season 15. Meanwhile, though, Xin Zhao going to be locked away. And I'm wondering what we're going to pair up with this. It is going to be the Zig, so even more flex picks coming out here. But a lot of magic damage, I will say that. And against a Galio, it's a very dangerous game to play.
Yeah, very dangerous game. And you could see an Aurora top Ziggs mid, but I'm expecting this to more likely be Aurora mid Ziggs in the bottom lane.
Yeah.
To kind of just handshake this lane, but that's kind of a dangerous game to play into Corki. Corki doesn't need to like find early kills to find a lead. I think a farm off is beneficial towards both teams. Nocturne, the final lock-in of phase 1 here, going to go to Verticality. So like you called out, Quacks, both teams still holding on to that flexibility with some of their champions. And these second phase bans are really what are going to be important as we see Braum and Fiora, 2 starkly different ones for LZB, and then Syndra and one more coming in for Rubber Ducky Gaming.
And we're seeing a lot of engage being come up here by LZB drafted on, so I expect them to ban away some of those engage tools away from LZB, or just try and maybe take some for themselves, really index into that disengage champion that I think will be really, really good here for RDG would be the Urgot. I think that would be a very strong champion just to be able to burst down that front line and say, hey, come at me. I mean, it's FlyQuest's classic response to a lot of these engage comps that they have to go against in the LTA. And hell, even at Worlds, it's what allowed them to go 5 games against Gen G. But they are going to lock into that Volley Bear instead. So a lot of sustained fighting on this top side with the Xin Zhao and the Volley Bear just being able to heal up. Pair that with the Pantheon. Wow. That's a Pantheon support, Slayer.
Pantheon support
don't hate this.
It's an interesting bottom lane pairing. I will say that.
But it does have it actually does have a decent amount of poke. I feel like people really underestimate just how much damage that long range Q spear can do along with the bombs. It does make it very difficult for that upfront damage to really touch Revan and Skeptor. They're able to disengage a lot of these fights as well. The Satchel Charge Bomb paired up with the Pantheon E able to block a lot of that damage does mean getting to that backline is going to be a lot harder for LZB this time around, even with all of the dive tools onto Archer and Neversaw that they have.
These two comps scream to me another potential spot for Verticality to kind of just carry a game home, because you talk about the fact that this is such a bruiser-oriented game, right? You got a Zinzao, you got a Volibear, and Aurora has to get decently close. Pantheon's got to be in close. Flip side, you got Nautilus, Galio, Nocturne, Jax. Like, these are all low range champions. So I guess, you know, it's a bit of a credence of mine saying it's a game for Verticality to pop off. Either one of these 80 carries have to be the ones to bring the damage over top and be the difference with their range. So Revan or Verticality, if we're talking team fighting, are going to be the important people to watch outside of the setups of these two teams that they've drafted. But I've yapped for too long at this point. We are onto the Rift and already mirrored invading each other's red sides here. And this is always funny to watch. But we do see a pretty clutch ward from LZB. They're going to spot this one out.
Yep. So they are going to see that that side of the map is getting invaded. The pings are coming across as well.
Go back?
LZB... Okay, I was a bit worried that they weren't actually going to drop a ward in that exchange, but they do on toward the Raptors. And my big question was this going to initiate a potential lane swap? Doesn't look like it is. Jax is good into the lane swap, but Volibear is definitely not good into the lane swap. So at the end of the day, neither team choosing to go that route, and instead they're going to play League of Legends like how it's supposed to be played, Slayer, which is good for us because I don't like lane swaps. I don't know if you feel the same way, but me personally, not a fan.
I've watched plenty of them in the LPL already, so I'm perfectly fine sitting here watching some normal lane scenarios, especially with the volatility bot side of a Pantheon and a Nautilus. You can already see they're both going to try and start and engage their route into the dredge line. Skeptor is going to get the ignite, commits the flash here. Verticality doesn't have the minigun in range to commit for that kill, but you'll take an ignite for flash trade any day of the week and twice on Thursday.
I mean, this is exactly what we saw in game number 1 as well. Verticality and Eclipse. They dinged level 3. Hang on.
Oh my god. This is the Volibear top lane. Wow, the Counter-Strike time from Hazem. Gonna make sure he lives there, because I think one more swipe of the claw toasted toast would have had first blood.
Yep, he would have put Hazem on the toast. He would have been the butter. But for now, it is just going to be a flash-for-flash trade on the top side. And, I mean, we mentioned all the priority and all of the real action should be in this bot lanes, particularly with LZB. But now, you know, no flashes on that top side means both junglers are licking their lips, waiting to get some of that action. But I think in the case of Archer just going to be finishing up that red buff, I don't think he really has an angle without necessarily sacking some of his tempo. After all, David is going to the bot side. If Nocturne were to show on that top side, he loses his jungle camps and is that much further behind in getting that level 6 when Nocturne really spikes.
That's the one key difference between game 1 and 2 for Lane 0 Blizzard is Archer was a menace from level 3 on that Amumu, already getting out ganking mid lane constantly. Now, these lanes are going to have to be a little bit more patient or a little bit more isolated, like you called out, because you got to wait for that paranoia from Nocturne at level 6 as we see Skeptor go for an engage, does have his
Verticality's going in.
Block the damage, Verticality diving in, Satchel Charge bumps everybody away with a clutch root from Eclipse, gets Verticality the auto he needs, and the bomb falls just a bit short. Revan has to come
got the auto off.
But now he's going to try and dance around the alcove, and I don't think Eclipse can get close enough to trade Revan, so a well-timed flash is going to get him and David a kill on the back end, but Archer's going to flash with his Q, commit, doesn't find the kill, and the Satchel Charge goes up just in time for Revan to live, and it might even cost Archer his life. There he goes down, and with the snap of a fingers, Rubber Ducky Gaming have feats of warfare.
Rubber Ducky Gaming win out in the feats of warfare, like you said. 2 kills over to the Zinzao as well. Exactly where you want this early game goal to go toward. We haven't had a lot of time to talk about it, Slayer, but this mid-jungle duo of the Aurora and the Zinzao, David and Samuel, it's going to be up to them to transition this early game power into the late game where eventually Revan can take over, and they are doing that beautifully here in game number 2.
Beautifully indeed, and we needed somebody to step up. It looks like it's Revan with the clutch cooldown times on this Ziggs. came out of this draft preaching a lot of the supplementary damage outside of the melee brawl fiasco that's going to be the other 8 champions, the Corki and the Ziggs, and Revan is in a prime position to really carry that home. He does outrange even verticality, so nobody's really going to be able to threaten Revan in this game outside of a Paranoia Heroes Entrance combination down to kill him off.
Yep. For sure, and I mean, that's the level 6 mark, again, is where we have to be really careful about LZB. Despite them going down in that trade on the bot side, I imagine they're not too worried. They're probably just saying to themselves, okay, that just delays Archer from getting 6 a little bit. Never Saw is getting closer and closer to getting that Hero's Entrance. Archer will eventually get the Paranoia. We can make these cross-map plays. We've just got to wait a little bit. So, it's gold into the pocket of RDG, but still, I think LZB are not too disappointed. They just have to play the game a little bit smarter and a little bit more cautiously when the Xin Zhao is around.
And wait for that level 6 timer on Archer, which is not far away. I'm glad you pointed out. Quacks, Lane 0 Blizzard have a lot more of cross-map playing ability, just playing all these lanes, right? The side lane threat with a Galio hero entrance whenever in a Jax. That's what I'm curious to see if LZB will play for later. But for now, it's RDG in the driver's seat, trying to set a bit of a trap here onto Never Saw. He does walk up. He's trying to catch I Samuel, gets down over the wall, but wasn't ready for Skeptor and David to both be there.
Ooh, Skeptor's walking up.
Maybe we're turning it on its head here. Gets the knock-up, and the main advantage is now in the hands of LZB, and they're just going to knock down Skeptor before Toasted Toast can even come through on the reset. You thought it was a catch for RDG, but it's 4 strong for LZB and a kill on the board.
I mean, Skeptor just walking up way too far. The wave isn't in a position where you can move. Your teammates aren't in a position where they can fight. He goes down. The man advantage belongs to Lane 0 Blizzard, like you said, Slayer, and now so do the Grubs. And the worst part is, unlike last game, RDG can't respond with a play on the other side of the map. That dragon is under no threat of being taken, so it's just Grubs and a kill for free. And this was the game we said RDG had a better chance at getting an early game lead into. They started off with 3 kills, but that lead is slowly starting to diminish as the game goes on.
Diminishes in gold, certainly, as it's down to about 500,000, and Archer got to be a couple of camps off of this Paranoia coming up here as he secures the scuttle.
I think he gets it off of these Raptors. I'm willing to bet.
Hey, that's a soon-to-be Masters jungler telling you, so I trust you more than anybody else.
Hell no. I'm not getting Masters anytime soon. The Elo is cursed.
That mentality.
The region is cursed.
We'll fix that mental as quickly as we can for Rubber Ducky Gaming. They got to fix up how they play around these neutrals. Game 1, it was just too passive for them to play for their go buttons, and that's really what I'm looking for them to find better tempo with in this game 2 if they want to avoid that 0-2 slide here. But the dastardly moment has come for the Duckies. Archer is level 6, and he's already pathing over towards his bot side hover. And you got to think, with that Prime Ultimate available, he's going to look for a pick or try to set up a Dragon Take soon.
For sure. And really, at this point in the game, I really want to pay attention to the mid lane waves. Pay attention to the top.
Both ultimates down. Toasted Toast has that big old Volibear buffed up, but he just can't get close enough to Hasm. So no flashes even need to be burned on both sides. They understood that if one guy flashed, the other guy was going to flash as well.
Yep, so good restraint there coming out from Hasm. And now on the bot side of the map, you can see RDG got pushed in the mid lane and the bot lane as well, so they're going to be able to join up, take this dragon. And Archer might have an angle on this top lane, but like you said, Toasted Toast hasn't flashed yet.
Yeah, he does have flash. You have to flash away from the fear, but the flash stun comes across from Hasm first into the fear. So Toasted Toast burns his own flash, but it's just a little bit too late. The synergy between these top side players, Hasm and Archer, flawless to find themselves a kill to even up the count.
It's a dragon for a kill, and yeah, like you said, kill count evened up. Archer probably going to help push in this next wave. Toasted Toast doesn't have the TP, so he will miss out on some gold and experience. David, though, not really able to make any sort of a cross-map play. All the camps are gone. The dragon is gone, and there is no angle to gank that bot lane. So well-timed by LZB, but it's not without its sacrifices as they don't get that dragon.
So the feats of strength conversation still in control of the Rubber Duckies.
Yep.
They are at 1 each with the kill lead, the feats of warfare. I'm now noticing that our graphic has the feats in the wrong spot. So if we could, we're learning on the fly here, and there's so many buttons for our production team to click behind the scenes. But I'm pretty certain that the red X of the warfare should be on the Rubber Ducky gaming side, unless I've just been counting kills wrong. I don't think I have.
I don't think you
Actually,
have.
I think it's impossible. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Hey, look at you, Slayer. You caught on to it. You got it. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, really the big thing going forward is going to have to be that mid lane priority, right? Because Never Saw on this Galio wants to roam around, wants to help out Verticality in the bot side, wants to link up with Archer. And meanwhile, Samuel, if he continues to, get these resources, continues to grow that CS lead in the mid lane and get all this gold, he's going to be able to one-shot these waves and prevent that roaming Galio from really being active, and it's going to deny LZB that chance to get the ball rolling until this game starts to break out into around 20-minute territory where the lane states become a little bit hazier, and the Galio doesn't necessarily have to worry about priority, but that's not a point in the game where you really want to wait if you're LZB. You want to try and get that snowball rolling on your bot lane and your jungler as soon as humanly possible.
RDG have a window now to play really aggressive. They have a ton of first item advantages across mid jungle and AD carry right now. All first items completed. So we'll see how aggressive they decide to get with it. For now, it's just going to be David taking the second set of grubs, which is not going to be contested by LZB. So that should be a 3-3 split, but 2 monster slaying feats done for the side of Rubber Ducky Gaming. 1 more epic monster claimed, and they have feats of strength.
He's ulting.
Here comes the Grand Starfall into the Between Worlds Verticality. Does not have a lot of space to go because backwards there's a Pantheon waiting, but the Dredge Line comes across into the Paranoia, so Skeptor can't find the route onto Verticality. He'll escape as the hero's entrance comes across. Depth Charge going to land onto Skeptor, but isn't enough damage without the Corki to find kills, and somehow, with 7 people rocking up to the bottom lane, nobody drops.
Yep, not a single kill in sight. Verticality and Archer, though, limping away. So is Skeptor. Good initial look there by RDG, but this is what we're talking about, Slayer. You've got to make sure that when you get those kills, you do it very fast, because you saw how quick Never Saw and Archer were to joining that party. Immediately after you go in on that engage, they were ready to go. So unless you're bursting down Verticality or unless you're bursting down another member of LZB instantly, you've got to be wary of those cross-map ultimates. This is the advantage of LZB, is that they are so quick to reacting to all of these plays, and they can instantly join a fight if it looks advantageous.
See how powerful that main advantage plays throughout the map can be as this game goes on. But it's still Rubber Ducky Gaming that can dictate a lot of this tempo. And they can bring Skeptor into a lot of their own plays as well. He's been following David around. The support jungle duo really shining through for them right now as they're looking to knock down Verticality. They committed so much to kill him off last time, burned his flash away, so it should be easier next time around. But Eclipse and company, they've got the vision set up to protect this Corki. You can see, though, RDG are really making it clear that they're not going to let Verticality just scale up and ruin a game like he did last time.
But now they have got to go back and catch this mid wave. This gives an opportunity for LZB to creep on up toward that bot side river and potentially lay down some vision, at least get a few bodies on that area of the map. And now 20 seconds until the dragon. Pay attention to those ultimates from the side of LZB. The hero's entrance about 3/4 of the way off of cooldown. The Paranoia about to come off of cooldown. Those cross-map ultimates are going to dictate how this fight goes and if RDG can really continue stacking these dragons or not.
They're really committed to this sort of death squad between David and Skeptor, just looking between mid and bottom lane to see if they can find some sort of pick, but it hasn't read anything just yet. They are onto that dragon, and we see Hasm commit the teleport topside, so LZB are not going to play for the man advantage because Hasm just wants the solo kill. He's going to get it with ease. Toasted toast down. Catch going to fall onto Skeptor as well. It's a whole-out commit for the feats of strength. They are secured by RGD. Paranoia down. David has to flash over the dragon wall. There's the dash forward. Comes across onto Samuel. He's able to Between Worlds dash over a wall, so it's a costly one, but it's feats of strength secured for RDG. To the 2-2 kills.
Yeah, so they get the dragon, so the stacking has begun.
That's
Clutch flash from Revan. Yeah, but that solo kill means that turret is just completely gone. So RDG, they get the feats of strength. They've got 2 of the 3 taken for themselves. I mean, LZB, they get the kills, but overall, it's objectives over kills, Slayer. And honestly, I feel like if you are RDG, you're taking those. You're definitely 100% going to take the kills or the objectives. Yeah,
the objectives. Gromp battle. Does Hasm win this? Oh, David's just baiting. He's on a ward. Hasm is dead. This is a 1v3. This is a top laner in Zelda.
That's Flash.
Let's get to the counter strike start. Flashes. Hold on. Caster curse. Nope. There's a bomb. Greatest person to give the shutdown too. It ends up going over to Revan.
And all the members of RDG committed up toward that top side. I mean, Verticality and Eclipse can just take down that turret on the bot side. They've really just got to choose a part of the map that they want to own and really put all the pressure on that side. Because at this point, if you're looking at the bot side, LZB, you're dealing with RDG who have 2 dragons, and you want to stop that. You want to stop the scaling so that you can get this game to a point where Verticality and Archer and Hazard can be those carries along with the backup that Neversaw and Eclipse can provide.
We're really splitting the map right now aggressively. LZB want to get this tier 2 turret. They're sacking a tier 1 trade. They're bringing Neversaw over for a dive. There's no paranoia available. Depth charge is up for Eclipse if he wants it. Stormbringer 2 maybe interrupts. Toast realizes he is caught between 2 huge boulders, so he engages on a verticality, but the stun lock comes across. Down goes Toast once more, and it will also nab the Blizzard side, a tier 2 turret. That's a tongue twister on the back end.
But it does mean that RDG have complete control of the top side of the map. They're going to be able to threaten that mid lane tower. It actually looks like Neversaw is going to be able to prevent that from being taken. The Herald, though, might just seal the deal on that mid lane turret. They don't have to continue committing to it because this objective should just be able to finish the job for them. If nothing else, it should be enough for Revan to throw down a satchel charge and take that one down. One of the advantages of having the Ziggs, but we haven't really seen the Ziggs be this major side lane threat in this game so far. We're almost 17 minutes into the game, Slayer, and Revan really hasn't had a chance to be a big tower threatener or objective threatener in this game so far.
Oh, Verticality dashing forward onto Revan. Wasn't expecting Skeptor to be nearby, but he's got his trusty Nautilus. Except for the fact that Revan just has more than enough damage. I was even shocked he's able to find that kill, but you land the bombs, you get the kills on the Ziggs, and Revan proves why.
Yep, and now you're not even going to need the Rift Herald to take down that turret. A Skeptor might need a Rift Herald to drive on out of there. Never mind, he's just going to waltz on with his own 2 feet because he is a man, Pantheon is.
Man, God, demigod. But, I mean, that's showing...
Kangas.
The Kangas, shout out Kangas. If we see a Braum in game 3, if we get it, we'll shout out the latest LTA play-by-play caster. But this is the problem that lies for Lane 0 Blizzard, right? If Verticality gets picked, if Verticality gets knocked out of a fight, you can't be confident engaging in any capacity because he's just so much of their reliable damage.
Walking up.
They're really trying to hold this tier 1 turret in place, but Dredgeline down, there's the paranoia. This is exactly my problem personified. They don't have any damage to kill anybody else, so they'll engage, but now they have to play back, and Verticality will finally show up. There's some low health bars. Toasted Toast slap teleports in as well. Has him on the backside. Gonna try and knock down Isama, but he won't find the pick. Down goes Revan, and Verticality can now step up. Hasm's held the rest of the carries at bay. The top lane teleport flank of dreams for Lane 0 Blizzard. Grants them an ace and a triple towards their top laner.
And Hasm with a beautiful teleport, and his presence completely splits RDG down the middle. He's able to threaten the back line while also keeping them away from the front line. LZP are able to close in on that front line, take them down themselves. And it is an ace, like you said, Slayer. Now the resets are going to come through. The dragon is up in about 15 seconds time. LZB marching down this mid lane should be able to take control of this bot side river and stop the dragon stacking cold in its tracks.
Gold lead balloons as well. And they can threaten more of those turrets. Ill-advised teleport comes across as well by Samuel. The taunt on time.
No, Skeptor's alone!
Goes in with his Grand Starfall, but he's cut off from the rest of his team. Revan can't step up. He just watches his support drop, and now it's one at a time, dropping across the board for RGD. Verticality somehow blinking health bar gets out from the dive as well. One disastrous teleport grabs 4 kills for LZB.
And LZB just capitalizing off of Rubber Ducky Gaming, who go in one by one and fall one by one in the process. It started with the TP from Samuel, and then it is Skeptor that goes on in. He gets taken down. Revan and then David falls subsequently. And that was just such an uncoordinated engage. It felt like RDG really wanted to fight for that dragon, but they didn't have the map under their control. And now not only do you give up the dragon, but you give up so much gold. LZB, I mean, 5 minutes ago, despite RDG losing that last team fight, they still had a chance to get back into this game and focus down those dragons. Now, though, the gold pendulum has swung completely out of their favor, and the Otacon is up. So one more play like that, one more fiasco like that from Rubber Ducky Gaming, and Otacon gets taken, and LZB can just march on you.
And so much gold went to verticality as well.
Oh my
he's not
God.
far I'm on a power spike, and looks like he's building towards that IE that he's trying to get finished off. Does dodge out on the Omega Inferno Bomb.
Okay.
Verticality, though, trying to buy time for his dash. He's flashless and picked off. That's a shutdown back to RGG. Do they want to gamble for Otacon off that one pick?
It doesn't look like it. Yeah, I mean, their health bars aren't all full. And again, this is the Voracious Otacon. This is one of those just camps that is really hard to take. It's really a risky 50-50, even though the fight is 4v5. Toast to Toast was in the bot lane without teleport, and you really don't want to gamble with that objective. So I think they make the smart play. They don't go for it. They just have to keep waiting for opportunities like the one that Verticality just presented. But realistically, how many of those opportunities are you going to get before LZB can potentially bring back this game for themselves?
Oh boy, and they're just trying to press the side lane even harder. There goes down the Stormbringer and Flash for Toast to Toast. So you get that key flash out of the top laner, but maybe a bit of a gamble too heavily from the Blizzard side. Herald down in the middle lane. They have the satchel charge like you called out so many times. Quack.
David's going too far.
2 TPs at once come across both the Galio and the Jax, but Revan's able to get to safety. It's a line as everyone tries to hunt down just the Ziggs. They don't care about the Pantheon or the Zinzao. It's going to cost them. Down goes Archer under his own turret. They'll trade out David. So jungler for jungler. Herald gets its crash, and now finally the mid-tier 1 turret should go down for lane 0 Blizzard.
And that felt like just a little bit of tunnel vision from LZB at the end of the day. Sure, they traded 1-for-1 jungler for jungler, but Eclipse was, or rather Skeptor was right there. Literally caught between a rock and a hard place, and they let him go in favor of just trying to get Revan, who does burn the flash. So I will say next time around, tunnel visioning for the Ziggs might be the play. But in the case of that, it costs them a man, and it potentially costs them Otacon. I feel like if they go 1-for-0, they can threaten that top side objective, but it's still standing, and so are RDG.
Game on a knife's edge. The gold marginal, and you got to factor in that RDG have those upgraded boots. Some of the tier 3 boots coming across for some of these players as well. Revan markedly has that big Magic Pen upgrade through for his kit. So gold really isn't the defining factor. Quacks, you called out well. The dragon stacking has been neutralized for the time being. It's really going to come down to execution in these next couple minutes to see which team can find an advantage.
And you can see RDG trying to find an advantage over on the top side of the map. They're moving their members to just try and get vision around this red buff. They're going to take the red buff while they're at it, and this is just to try and cut off LZB's ability to threaten that Otacon, and for RDG to potentially threaten that Otacon if they can get a pick, but it doesn't look like Lane 0 Blizzard has that in mind.
Samuel, he wasn't expecting so many members to be close by on the bot river. Does burn the flash and the between worlds of the paranoia. Does not result in a kill just yet. Ziggs doing a ton of damage on the backside. Never saw dives in to find the execution, but he's all alone because Archer was too low. LZB, they gamble to kill off another carry, and this time it cost them no trade kills coming through.
Really good movement coming out there from Samuel. He throws down the between worlds. He manages to escape with the W as well, and then the clutch flash to get away. Now the Otacon is up. The paranoia is down. Galio isn't able to join the fight. Hasm doesn't even have teleport, so the green light has been given for Rubber Ducky Gaming to go for this Otacon. And I don't think Lane 0 Blizzard have any intention of trying to contest it. They're just trying to put pressure on other sides of the map in preparation for this dragon. But RDG, I mean, if they're smart, they can go for a reset. They can go for the dragon. They can kind of waste away this advantage from the Otacon and potentially just look to wear down Lane Zero Blizzard. But the margin might be a little too small, and I'm thinking RDG are thinking that as well, because Toast to Toast without the teleport is recalling really late.
Well, hold on, though. Verticality is half HP. He's out of here. So is Hasm with the teleport. Archer's going to try and start this one up, but one Nocturne can't do this. There's no way, so they're going to have to get out of the pit. They have a blue ward
from Revan. Yeah. No, it doesn't get started up, to my surprise, honestly. Now LZB, they're getting pushed off. The mid wave is in control of Rubber Ducky Gaming. All they have to do is get Toast to Toast up toward this top side, get their frontliner in this fight, and they could really throw this game on its head. This could be sole point Slayer.
And they've got another 2 minutes of this revive available. So any fight they lose, they don't go to the death realm. But it does seem like the Blizzard side want the engage. The double Counter-Strike stun into a taunt is interrupted. Paranoia down as well. Verticality trying to step through the Between Worlds. And here come the revives. One member of the Duckies down. Toast to Toast off to the flank. Oh, wow. Hasm diving under the turret for a revive kill is just going to get shut down. The hero's entrance comes through, but Neversaw is already way below half HP. Maybe didn't want that engage, but shouldn't be punished. Stormbringer through. Toast to Toast gets eaten by a dredge line. Grand Star falls next, but Verticality's dashing over it to force another revive through the voracious Otacon. It's going to be a win for LZB, but it won't feel like it because every member of the Rubber Duckies are back up on the map.
Samuel looking for a potential 1v1, 1v2, RDG. They utilize the Otacon revive buff perfectly. Teleports are coming through from Revan, from Samuel, and now they're going to look to march on and get themselves to sole point in this game. LZB weren't able to get those picks, weren't able to burn those revives without costing their own lives. And as a result, the life of the dragon will be the last one to fall in this exchange.
Mountain Soul Point for RDG is massive in a game where damage is a very rare commodity between both these comps, especially factoring in how far we've scaled into the late phases. We're in 27 minutes, so champions damage profiles like Pantheon, like Volibear, Nocturne, Galio as well. It's just not really present. But Hasm's damage is certainly scaling up as he wants the 1v1 with Toast to Toast. Not a 1v though, my friend. Mega Inferno Bomb comes across, trying to use the Counter-Strike stun to buy him some space, but there are too many bodies from Rubber Ducky Gaming for him to deal with. All five members of the squad bot side to grab that kill.
And now, I like this play from LZB. They're thinking, okay, maybe we go for the Baron, but my friends, they have got the Grubs, they have got the Dragons, they have got a massive wave pushing onto your base. You have got to respond to this. And they respond to it too late. That's an inhibitor for Rubber Ducky Gaming. They have the numbers, so LZB, I don't think they can engage Slayer.
They've got Paranoia, but yeah, you don't want to fly in all alone. Archery's got no one to fall in. The hero's entrance, remember, is delayed, so he's going to be alone for a time period. Without dredge lines landing, they're just too scared to really commit here. The 5-stack for RDG holding strong, and boy, if they impressed and turned around this series the way they played the map in this one. Oh.
They for sure have. Hasm, though, is coming up shortly and has the teleport available. LZB, they want to look for a fight right here, right now.
Two resets come across. Revan and Toast to Toast are out. There's the Paranoia down. Dredgeline lands this time through, so they're going to find the easy pick onto Skeptor. Trying to look for more, but Samuel and David have enough space in between them. No depth charge range available, so just the support down for Rubber Ducky Gaming as they were caught on the reset.
And LZB, I mean, they get a pick, but they're on the bot side of the map. The main objective is that Baron, so they've got to walk all the way across Summoner's Rift if they want to claim that one. And by that time, Skeptor should be up and available and also has the Grand Starfall. So it's a kill, but they don't really get anything else. It's a little bit unfortunate, though, as RDG could have looked to fight that, but unfortunately, two of those resets, like you pointed out, Slayer, did come through. So they were at a man disadvantage right from the start.
See if that'll allow Lane Zero Blizzard to get into a bit more of a rhythm playing towards the side lanes with this Jax, with the Galio's threatening factor. There's no Otacon to worry about anymore.
Hazard versus Toast to Toast in the 1v1, number 5,326.
Nope. Gonna avoid that as Toasted Toast picked the right brush to try and recall him at the very least, so he'll be safe. But that is the one advantage we feel like LZB have, right? Is that Hasm just wrecks Toasted Toast in 1v1s to try and stretch this map for his squad.
For sure. And now, I like this move from RDG. They saw 2 members on the bot side. Skeptor.
Skeptor is shown many times that he is willing to die to equal
This man is on X Games mode. He likes living life on the edge.
Yeah, and half HP, but top river control is in the
David
hands of
likes
Ducky
living life
Gaming.
on the edge.
David getting engaged. There's the Between Worlds as well. Try and hold an Eclipse and Company in space. Never saw can use the hero's entrance to get to safety. Stormbringer down, and they got Verticality. The Corky's down, and now it's just green light go for Rubber Ducky Gaming. Running under the turrets, Hasm tries to jump into the backline, but Riven with another clutch satchel charge gets himself to safety, but scatters the rest of the fight. Eclipse tries to re-engage with a dredge line. Not going to find much, has to flash to safety as Hasm finds Samuel off the side, then gets a jump onto David with the counter-strike. It's Hasm's world, and we're just living in it as he turns the fight on its head for a win in the side of Lane 0 Blizzard.
And Jack says, imagine if I had a real weapon, but Hasm says, I am a weapon, and he utilizes his tools to go for these kills as they're not done yet.
Never saw. He doesn't stop the satchel charge, but it's Skeptor to sacrifice himself. Hasm's waiting for his leap strike, but Revan's damage is enough with the turret to outplay once more. That is a flashback exactly to how Revan outplayed level 3, doing it 30 minutes later.
And Hasm, he wreaks havoc on that team fight. He turns it around for his squad, but he isn't able to finish the job. Revan gets out with a little bit, like a sliver of HP. The silver lining, though, is Hasm will be up and available around the time this dragon spawns, and this could be the big fight win for either of these squads here, Slayer. It is going to be soul potentially for RDG. If LZB win, not only could they deny the soul, but they could march on up toward that Baron and really look for some game-ending pushes. It all comes down to this. Hasm has the teleport. RDG, they've got control of the bot side river. LZB have to be careful about face checking their down members.
Oh, Eclipse gets too close. Archer's getting knocked out of the fight. Eclipse is dead. They just picked off the Nautilus. Grand Starfall comes across. They're going on and Never Saw next as Verticality's trying to throw down the rocket. Holy moly, Hasm! He teleported halfway across the map to try and dive in with this counter-strike. Doesn't find anybody. Never Saw doesn't get the knock-up by Samuel, and Revan are staying safe for now. Never Saw into the stasis. Hasm trying to re-engage, but Archer's down next. The Jack's soon to fall as well. Verticality just can't get towards any of the priority targets. Masterfully played. Patience play for Rubber Ducky Gaming. Grants them 3 kills and Mountain Soul off the back of it.
And they don't have the jungler available. Archer is down. LZB, they're sticking around for some reason. I think they want to try and steal it, but the smite is available. There's no point in trying to stay here.
Verticality's just going to die. Yes, Skeptor flashed over the wall, gets the stun. Barrier down, flash down, doesn't matter. Verticality gets 1 trade, but it's Skeptor who will valiantly pay his life for the Mountain Soul secured in the name of Rubber Ducky Gaming.
And Rubber Ducky Gaming, it felt like that team fight was them punishing the overextension from Eclipse. The Nautilus gets caught on out. They take him down to size. LZB, they're forced to basically back up their support, but they don't have the top laner. By the time Hasm enters into that fight, the health bars are already blinking red for the side of Lane 0 Blizzard, so they're not able to continue the fight like the Jax is, and as a result, they fall one by one. The Dragon Soul is now in control of RDG. And that is one hell of a tanky bear going up toward that top side Slayer.
And all those melee champions are now just so much tankier in a game that is so low range brawl intensive. It just gets even harder for Lane 0 Blizzard to burn through these health bars. You could even get Verticality in a spot to do the damage. We just haven't seen that Corky take over a game like Corky has in so many games of League of Legends in the last year.
Yep, for sure. I mean, Verticality, it feels like the range really is the most punishing factor because you walk up to try and deal damage and suddenly you're hit by Pantheon with the Empower W, and then the Q from Volibear comes across, the knock-up from David comes across, the damage from Revan comes across. They throw 10 cannons, 30 billion nuclear bombs, a gajillion bullets, and maybe a couple more warheads to be safe. Verticality can do nothing about it. This is the opposite of Piltover's most decorated flying ace. This man, instead of downing 3 other targets, he's been downed 3 times in a row, I feel. This Corki really struggling to get on the map, it feels like.
At least for now, Lane Zero Blizzard are doing a good job not walking into these traps set by Rubber Ducky, but they're just going to start up the Baron instead. No sign that the Blizzard team knows this is going on. They should know.
I mean, that ward got taken. They should know.
They're too late, though. This is way below 5K before Hasm really finds it. Hasm, he can't dive in all on his own. He's going to go to the back line and try to get the counter-strike stun. He does get Revan, and there's the paranoia for Archer flying in. Can they get the 6 down? Down he goes! A lifeline find! Neversaw bumping into the back line as well, but verticality in melee range. Gets himself dropped by Skeptor, flashes to safety. David is chasing after him, but they've lost all their friends on the backside. Neversaw and Hasm going to step up once more with the clipped counter-strike stun through. They chain the knockups together with a blast code. Save David just for the time being. It will as Hasm's forced over the wall, but he'll hop right back in. David nearly knocks down Hasm, but he gets the counter-strike back up. It's all on Toasted Toast, trying to get these W heals, but Hasm says, see you later. Thumbs up with the Rammus, and the stasis from Neversaw. Wait, Neversaw just trolled. Eclipse is down. Toasted Toast heals for 1,000, and he's going to end up limping away. He's the only one to survive.
Neversaw with the zone, yes, he lets the support die! It's a super close fight, but it's a 1 fight for LZB, if only barely. It's going to be a 4 for 3 at the end of the day.
No Baron, though.
Really clutch engage there by Archer, but we saw how hard it was for Verticality to play these fights. The moment he even stepped up, Skeptor turned his attention onto the Corki, and then Toasted Toast was there to follow. It's such a damn difficult time for Verticality to play these fights. I feel like, can we go to the builds? Because I really want to see if maybe Eclipse has built like a Mikhail's or something like that. I feel like that might be necessary at this point in the game. Anything to try and just stop the CC train. Yeah, there is no Mikhail's.
You don't always see that on Nautilus players, right? But
no,
yeah,
I'm
with you.
I feel like at this point, you are just so deep in like the situation, right? Like this is like about getting items that benefit your situation, not necessarily about the game as a whole, because we have gotten past the point of these champions kind of having their prime time scaling. Almost all champions are close to level 17 or 18. So we're getting down there. You've got to start building as if, you need to just shore up the weaknesses and the things that are giving you trouble. And one thing that has been a thorn in your side, if you are Lane Zero Blizzard, is the amount of CC being landed onto this Corki.
Wow, does Hasm get run by Toasted Toast now in this matchup? I mean, he's got a lot of tank items through, and Hasm's on the back foot, so that matchup has changed, but Eclipse is looking for a pick here onto Ice. Good dodge on the dredge line. Keeps Aurora safe for now. And forces LZB back on the back foot. They have to secede control of that top river. And we can flash towards these top laners all game long. I don't think either of them are going to get... They're not getting each other low enough.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Toasted Toast, at this point in the game, your healing is so insane from the W, and it's on such a low cooldown. Extended trades are a thing of the past against Volibear. We saw it in that 1v3.
And there's no heal cut, so those are full W heals for Toasted Toast.
Which is crazy, by the way. No heal cut against Volibear or Xin. What?
Yeah, Verticality is building... I got to assume the Cloak is going to be an LDR last, but he's getting his Armor Pen last as well into a Mountain Soul team.
Ooh, definitely some Toasted Toast.
Definitely some items holding this team back as they do look for the engage under the turret onto Eclipse and Neversaw. Yes, go to the stasis. They just turned the turret off. Neversaw spit the flash. Mid-tier 2 does go down. Support through as well. Rubber Ducky Gaming are taking even more of the map and turning the pressure dial up.
And it's only one member, but that's all they need. Rubber Ducky Gaming go straight onto the Baron. The Elder, though, is up in 15 seconds, and I'm wondering if LZB, knowing that this Baron is lost, they're going to clear out this mid wave, clear out this bot wave, and set up vision around that bot side around the time Eclipse respawns. If they can get this Elder, this Baron, it's completely void. They can deal with the Nasher, but the Elder is a different beast entirely. They're just going to start it up. They're in a 4v5 situation, Slayer.
Yeah, and it's not like Eclipse could teleport in. He's still 9 seconds away from respawning. They're trying to burn through it. All they can really hope to do is 50-50. Neversaw has the taunt. The Inferno Bomb through. Might just get them the Elder. The Elder through for LZD. Can they find the fight? Verticality has to flash himself away from David. Hasm jumps in onto the Xin. They're waiting for the Elder. Executes. There's one through. Hasm into the stasis. Neversaw gets a huge taunt. Knocked down the Aurora. Neversaw's taunt might have just won this series for Lane Zero Blizzard as they pick up even more kills off the backside. and now it's toast to toast. The Volibear with the Stormbringer has to dash himself out. What a gutsy call from LZB to give themselves an edge.
And it's the jungler from LZB that manages to secure the smite, but it is the mid laner from LZB. Never saw the hero that he is, landing clutch taunt after clutch taunt on this Galio. The bot lane wave is pushing. LZB should be able to push that one out. And not only did they get themselves Elder Slayer, but they cut down the members of RDG that have the Baron in half. So that push potential to end the game from Rubber Ducky Gaming significantly gets stifled off of that fight.
We are into rare territory of League of Legends games, especially in Season 15. 40 minutes over. Elder on to, I believe, 3 members of Lane Zero Blizzard. See how much they can do with it. They have it on Verticality. They have it on this 25 Magi stacked Galio, by the way. This is, we thought we were going to take Galio. This Galio hurts, and I don't hate it with the rest of his team's damage profile.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is amazing. I mean, Never Saw is the rock in all of these team fights, right? He is able to completely divide the members of RDG, and he has been clutch in so many different scenarios. If you just play around this Galio, you play around that hero's entrance, I feel like LZB can get this game in their clutches. But man, has it been proven to be challenging for both of these teams. Now the Elder is going to run out in about 30 seconds. The Baron is on a similar timer. And it feels like we're right back to square one, Slayer.
And there could be even bigger lull with Baron and Elder. Their second phase is not coming anytime soon. We'll see how much Rubber Ducky want to commit to hold this Tier 2 turret. In goes Never Saw. The turret's still up, by the way, doing a ton of damage on the backside of this fight. They're just letting the turret do all the work for LZB, and they've lost their front line already. Never Saw diving in, goes into the stasis. Verticality can't get close enough. The Grand Starfall on the flank for Skeptor. Eclipse just has to guard his AD carry. They're going to let the Magi stacks burn. Another shutdown through for Rubber Ducky Gaming. What was the call on that dive under the turret? It might have just cost LZB this entire game. Re-engage comes across onto Eclipse. Verticality is being hounded by the big bad Storm Bear that is toast to toast. Rampage and kill he gets. Eclipse next to fall. One gutsy paranoia dive just costed LZB game 2.
LZB with a huge overextension trying to dive the tower. This is not a Season 14 turret. These things hurt. They deserve your respect. And when you disrespect them, you know what happens next as LZB. I have a feeling they just got taught a very valuable lesson. Rubber Ducky Gaming managed to tie this series up 1-1. We're going to game number 3, Slayer, and I wouldn't have it any other way here in the Immortal League.
Wow, that is a anticlimactic way to end a very competitive game. Yeah,
that's lame. I'm not even gonna be nice about it.
I wonder if they thought that maybe because I think that turret kept its non-minion resistances, and that's why it was so hard to knock down. I wonder if they thought they got a couple minions through before the dive came so they could knock the turret down. I don't know, but yeah, that was so aggressive.
I think their idea was we only have about 30 seconds left in the Elder. We've got to try and make use of it, but disrespect! Like, going for the Baron going for that dive when you don't have a real way to threaten that tower being taken. It would have been a lot better if they had a wave coming in, if they had just waited, maybe 10 seconds for the wave to come in. They could have completely turned this game on its head. We'd probably still be casting the game, Slayer. Yeah. But, like you said, anticlimactic ending. I say it's a lame ending. And I'm really hoping that game number 3 delivers because, I'm going to be honest, that left me a little bit salty, man.